Welcome to More Than Dentistry, where your hosts Evert and Waldo discuss life, dentistry, and everything in between with dentists around the world.
Hello and welcome to the More Than Dentistry podcast.
Welcome to the More Than Dentistry podcast. I think from the start, you were definitely one of the guys that I wanted to get onto the podcast. And I remember way back when Socket Shield, the papers came out and so on, and I saw this guy's name, Jonathan du Toit, and I thought, who's this new specialist? And unbeknownst to me, you haven't even been a specialist at that stage. So I feel very, very privileged to at last have a chat with you, and now you are a periodontist specialist.
Yeah, look, where to begin? I mean, as you said, when you looked at the article, that was probably 2015, 2016.
Okay.
And you were like, who's this toy, right?
Yeah.
Like, who's this Afrikaans ook? And the name is almost misleading because, I'm not very Afrikaans, and I could speak it, and I imagine maybe when I was a kiddo, and most of my family must have been very Afrikaans. But I grew up English. I went to English schools. All my friends have got British passports. I grew up in Cape Town, went to Campspear High. So the name's a little bit misleading, the story.
Yeah.
But, look, you've said so much already that, I could comment on. But it's probably important for me to, and I did the same thing with Ken Sirota, so I'm going to refer to him a few times, and then we'll get our groove. Is that you asked me to come and have a chat on the podcast. I mean that's in my mind, dude. Who want to hear me talk on a podcast? What could I possibly have to say? And I avoided it initially, based purely on that. That I think no one would be interested in what I have to say, and there must be way more interesting people and established people in dentistry who have a lot to say. But looking back at it now, I probably have, and that's how I'm going to tailor, some of the stories that I want to share with you tonight.
Yes,
is a lot to say for dentists in South Africa who want to specialize.
Yes,
right. And I've given it a decent amount of thought, so I'm not going to generalize too much in a way that I speak for other specializations, which might not be fair. But by the same token, I think that there is a message for a lot of youngsters who still think that they want to specialize, and then also people like maybe yourself, who knows what your aspirations were. Maybe you were someone also like, hey, I wish I was like Jonathan, that I got into UP and I went to go study under that famous prof at the ITI Center of Excellence. Or I missed the boat, and maybe no one ever told you some things that you should know.
Yes. Well, there's a lot of things to talk about, but I think let's just start off. You've just touched on growing up in Cape Town. I do think that what has happened to Jonathan at a young age, what values have been instilled in you to have this drive? Because I really think that you have a very interesting story in the sense of your journey into dentistry, and if we can start off there.
Yeah, it's you gave me a short kind of brief on the things you wanted to chat about, and one of them was values and things, how you grew up, and I try and think back to that, and I don't really remember anything as a youngster. Primary school, even high school, that really drove me to do what I'm doing now, right? I was. I think if I fast forwarded to what happened after high school, right, and I think where I learned to have a bit of work ethic, and I'll get to that in a moment. So I'll try and draw you a timeline, right? So let's call this Ken Sirota. This happened after his interview, right? So the South African version.
Yes.
Is the timeline I drew for him was grew up in Cape Town, went to Camps Bay High, 94, 95, through to 98. So I was in Trick in Camps Bay in 98, and I'd applied for dentistry at the University of Stellenbosch.
And why dentistry?
I got,
if I'm chipping in here,
okay.
Why dentistry?
Okay. I do know that when I was in high school, I wanted to be a medical doctor, right? I had this idea that medical doctors are like, but it kind of seemed like quite a hardcore science, and I thought that maybe dentistry as a healthcare science is a softer science. No one's gonna die. I'm not gonna kill someone with a filling. It kind of freaked me out that responsibility of being a medical doctor, and I think I really had quite a fear. If I was really honest, which is interesting because I've now turned my career into surgery. It's kind of like taking something that freaked me out when I was younger, and now that's something I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Okay, so if that answers that question, I just think I had this idea of being a medical doctor, and then dentistry came along, and that seemed like the just a safer, sort of toned down version. Cool. So I got enough money together to go over to London the year after high school to go and work, just save money to come back and study. Okay. And I was working in London in 1999, the year after matric, trying to save as much as I could. I was working on a construction site. I was doing whatever they needed me to do, right? So I kind of jippered my way into London, right? Because you need a worker's visa technically to get in there. And so I was working on a construction site. I was running around a wheelbarrow. I was, basically just working 7 days a week to save every single pound I could to come back and go to dental school. So I got in, right? So I got in, and it was an Afrikaans university. So in 1999, dentistry was still with the University of Stellenbosch.
Yes.
Afrikaans. And so I came back in at the year, and the short version is I basically didn't nearly have enough money to study, right? Okay. I didn't say, I had some money, but it's really not enough to carry me for 5 years, let alone 1 year. And it just freaked me out. I was very young. I finished high school quite early. I was 18. I kind of dropped out before I even started. So the first week of varsity started in 2000. And I bailed. And so, let's draw the timeline from there on. That's the year 2000. So for the next 1, 2, 3 years, saved. And then wanted to go overseas again to save more money to come back and study. And I had some friends who were in different countries. I didn't want to go back to London. I kind of did that. I hated the quality of life. I was very miserable there. I had some friends in New York, had some friends in different countries, and I had some friends who were in South Korea. I was like, that's crazy exotic, right? So I goes back when we had internet cafes, searching what South Korea like. And long story short, I just worked, saved as much as I could, bought a ticket, and off I went. Flew to South Korea in 2003 and started teaching English. So back then it was quite an unknown thing, for South Africans to go over to Asia and teach English. And I basically lived there for almost 5 years, 4.5, 5 years, 2003 through to early 2007. So again, worked, saved everything I could. And in 2006, let me answer your question about influences and stuff. Okay. South Korea is the most polar opposite you can ever get to South Africa. Okay? Right? You're not driving down you're in PE, but you're not driving down the center of the city where there's some people lying on the lawns going hey, no job. Or standing at a traffic light with a cardboard. There's no such thing. Everyone works.
Sure.
It's like Star Wars and Prozac, man. It's really it's unbelievable, those people's work ethic. It's mind-blowing. So I think moving there and living there when I was in my early 20s for a couple of years is what instilled, I think, in me. Maybe if I had no work ethic, I learned what it was when I went over there.
Okay.
Because it is truly mental. The type of competition they have between them, because it's one race, one language, one culture. It's not like us. We're so multi-diverse. We've got such a mix of people right there to excel and stand out, you really have to make an effort. You know? I would say for them, like for us, where matric is kind of the benchmark or standard, for them, like having a bachelor's degree, like everyone's got a bachelor's degree.
Sure.
Like education is just, I mean, they've got like over 1,000 universities. It's mental. So yeah, lived in South Korea 2003, 4, 5, 6. 2006, I reapplied. Right, and I was like, okay, I've saved some money. I'm a little bit older. I still want to do this, so now I reapply. Stellenbosch Dentistry doesn't exist anymore.
But if I can just interrupt there again, how do you keep your focus for so long to say, listen, I still have the same goal? Because I mean, I know a lot of people that say, I want to play in a band and this is my lifetime goal and I need to do this and this and this. And then at some stage they say this is not going to work and then they just fade away. I mean, that is that's very single-minded Sorry, just repeat it.
I hear you. And it would, yeah, look, I mean, I'm condensing several years into 2 minutes. You know, it would be untruthful if I said that, I never had other ideas along the way, right? So I'm living in South Korea, have a life there, I have a job, I was getting paid. Gosh, I mean, I worked out the amount of work that I was doing combined was between $3,500 and $4,000 a month with no expenses, right? It was at that age, I was 20, 23, 24, 25.
Yeah, that's good money.
So I thought, like, hey, maybe this is a career. And I applied for a Master of Linguistics and English teaching degree at University of Southern Queensland. Right? Yeah. And I got in. Actually. Yeah.
Yes.
So it was on my mind. I was like, okay, well, maybe this is like a thing for me. And I like it. The culture is crazy. I was speaking a lot of Korean. You know, it really grew on me. And I thought that maybe that was an option. But I mean, the back of my mind was always this thing that I wanted to do. You know, that was my thing. So yeah, to say that I was completely single-minded, I mean, maybe you don't know. Maybe I kind of had a thing for the Drakensberg Boys Choir, but I don't think I'll hold it. But yeah, that's basically the gist of it, that I was living over there, working there. But towards the end of like 2006, I was just, it was the lifestyle, the work that I was doing, it was too much. I was working like 6-7 days a week. I wasn't doing anything that was challenging me. I was like brain dead. I was like, okay, cool. I've saved enough money now. I'm older. I really want to go back and do this thing that I wanted to do.
Okay.
And so I just assumed that I could, contact Stellenbosch and say, cool, guys, here's my acceptance letter. I've got the money. I'm coming back. And it didn't exist anymore.
Sure.
So this is quite a cool story because along the way, and same with Ken's interview, I've got to give credit to a lot of people who've helped me. There's some phenomenal people who came just, by faith, really, in my path. So here's Emmy Parker. Emmy Parker was the deputy dean at UWC. Didn't know him at the time, but I called him up from overseas. Right? This is who I am. I want to come study dentistry. I apply, and I wait, and I wait, and I wait. And 6, 7, 8 months go. It's the new year. It's January into the next year. And eventually I get a reply saying, hey, you didn't make it. What do you mean I didn't make it? That's crazy. I mean, did you see my acceptance letter from the other university? and obviously I was like distraught, man. I was like, this is my dream, it's my thing, it's not, And so I called him up and I just harangued this guy. Every day I called him. But you don't understand, I'm older and I'm mature now and this is what I want to do and I've got the money saved. And, if you understand how it works at Bath, they have intake that's geared for matriculants, right? It's not for school leavers, only make up 10% of the class. So I was competing with guys who had BSCs and stuff already.
Okay.
But anyway, long story short, after I think calling this Prof Parker daily for a couple of weeks, we had a meeting and they found me a place. It was Monday, the 5th of February 2007. I got an email from him saying, hey, got you a place. And within 2 days, I was at UWC. Closed my bank accounts, dropped everything, quit my job, threw everything away, just packed a bag, straight back to Cape Town. That's how it happened. Wednesday, the 7th February 2007. I was at UW.
Wow.
Yeah. What else do you want to know? Okay. So then dentistry starts. And dentistry for me was no different from, what you went through, right? Walter, where did you study?
Also UWC. Yeah, I started in 2001. And then, I finished up in 2005. So I just missed, we had like almost parallel lines, but just missed each other. Yeah.
Are
and
you one of those guys that like also put in your CV, graduated from University of Stellenbosch / UWC?
Yeah, I've got one of those degrees.
A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I would have been your senior, right? Because I would have started in 2000.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
So that dental school wasn't, I think, any different to how anyone else experienced it. Maybe the difference for me was I started at age, I think I'm going to lie if I say, but I think 26. I started at 26.
Yeah,
that was the 8th gap year that I took.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit tough because most of the people that I met were 18 years old, right? And had done physics, chemistry, and stuff. They just came out of high school, and I hadn't done that in 8 years.
Yeah.
Right. And I had to come back to varsity and pick up immediately and start doing chemistry, physics. Anyway, and I was trying to still work at nights with like this Korean company that I was teaching through, so I could not tap into dip into my savings too much. And my first year for me was mental. It was like so much stress, and I was panicking that I can't do this chemistry that I did 8 years ago and I'm gonna fail. No. But anyway, fast forward, I think dentistry was no different for me than it was for anyone else. Maybe myself and you might know him. He's now a MaxBack registrar at UWC. The Iraqi guy. Essentially, we were best mates.
Yeah.
So maybe we were a little bit like trying to be overachievers. But other than that, like dentistry was pretty straightforward. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you did excel You did excel already in undergrad. I mean, winning that Dentsply prize and going overseas for that. That couldn't just be a stroke of luck.
No. Look, I was maybe, and I've still got that. Like maybe a lot of tenacity and fair enough. Okay, but all those things are kind of like these little prizes you get for being in the top. I mean, it's kind of like coloring competitions. I'm going to say this, I'll do. You would know one of my best mates, Michael. Okay,
yes.
So Mick, we were best mates. We're studying together, and we couldn't be more different. Okay, maybe our private lives. We both love to sort of surf. We both love to braai, whatever. But at varsity, here, me and the Iraqi were like gunning it. Like every single test, we were competing. We were trying to give it 150%. We were trying to do student research from third year. We were trying to enter competitions, and it was mental, right?
Yeah.
Mick, okay, he was aiming for a 50%. Okay, and when he got like a 52, he'd be upset because it's messing up his average. He's aiming for a 50.
Yeah,
and he is one of the best dentists that I know. He has a phenomenal set of diverse skill that I can never attain.
Yeah.
And he was a 50%.
Yeah.
So what does all that stuff really matter? I mean, it was kind of cool. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, we went over to the US and it was like a student conference. Fadi came with me. It was kind of cool. Don't get me wrong. It was fun.
Yeah.
But does that really translate into life after dental school? Not a chance, man.
Yeah.
No way. It doesn't really mean anything, in my opinion.
Did your social life look differently from the 18-year-old guys?
100%. Yeah. Look. Yeah. It was a bit tricky at first, certain people that were 8 years younger than me, but whatever. Look, so was Mick. Even I've mentioned Fadi already. We were like inseparable. We were like brothers, and he's 9 years younger than me.
Yeah.
So that was UWC, UWC, 2007 to 2011.
And then you did your comsiv with the military.
So if I've alluded to being a little bit tenacious, I think I'm a little, maybe that's one of my qualities is I'm a hustle. So I was a hustler. In third year, I contacted by Facebook all of the conserve dentists from our school, right? They were now in conserve and said, hey, listen, can you send me some pictures? Can you tell me where you work? Can you tell me if you're getting overtime? Can you tell me what your manager's like?
Yeah.
Is he a dick? What type of work are you doing? Are you just doing extractions? And I built a database of like as many clinics around the country because basically everyone is just choosing those posts based on location. Like, hey, that's close to my mom's house. You know?
Yes.
So it just turns out that, I don't know what it's like now, but back then, competition for posts in Cape Town was mental. Like everyone wanted to be in a major city.
Mm.
And I found this post that was in a town I've never heard of, in the arse end of South Africa, next to the Kruger Park. That was on an Air Force base.
Yeah.
It was a helicopter Air Force base, right? Apparently, it didn't have a clinical manager. You had a big clinic. You had assistants under you. You have to be like the manager of the clinic.
Mm.
You got to do mostly everything, not just extraction. So if you want to do a bit of crown and bridge, you can.
Mm.
Endo, you can do restorative, whatever. Yeah. And I was like, sign me up. That's where I want to go. And there was rural. Yeah.
Is that the one in St. Lucia?
I applied. I had no competition. No. It was Hoedspruit.
Hoedspruit. Okay. Yeah. No, I also had mates that did their ComServe there. I actually did my ComServe also in the military. I did mine at in Uppington.
Yeah, it was. I think as a ComServe job, it really forces you to grow up quick and to learn about things like running a small clinic, trying to be a manager to staff, having responsibility, ordering your own stuff. Like it felt a lot like a kind of middle to low end kind of medical aid small practice.
Yeah.
So I think as far as ComServe posts go, I really scored it lucky. I lived on like a Air Force base. I got to fly choppers. I made friends with the pilots. There was a golf course there.
Yeah.
It was cool. Right by the Kruger Park. So it really worked out quite well. And I'd early on learned that. Okay, so I wanted to specialize. I got the idea in dental school. Okay, I don't just want to do fillings. I want to specialize. And I think back then, for sure, I wanted to do maxillofacial surgery, right? Because that's a cool specialization. If you're a maxillofacial surgeon, everyone thinks that like these pencil arms of mine are going to get bigger by themselves.
Yeah.
So I knew that there was an avenue to specialize through the military. Right, they've got some posts that they send dentists off to varsity to go and specialize, and it's really quite competitive. And I'll get to that in a moment. That'll probably be the bulk of the info I'm going to try to share with you. There's two avenues. You can either go to Department of Health with everyone else, or if you're already in the military, then as a military dentist you can go and specialize potentially.
Yeah.
So that was another reason why I wanted to work for and stay in the military. Yeah.
Okay.
So, want to hear more about that?
So did you then stay on in the military? Did you go to Luatla? Did you do all your basic training?
Yeah, man. Okay. So let me try and figure out, because I have to do the math and count back. But it is important to say, I lived in a BV tent that I made out of my poncho and sticks in basic training in the military in the Northern Cape at age 32, or whatever it is, because that's something you do when you're 18. Because it's okay, right? You're willing to put up with shit. But by the time you're already qualified as a dentist and you've got a captain around, and now you're getting shouted at and stuffed around, you've got to sleep in a little makeshift tent in the middle of the bush. Well, I had to do that. Apparently, that's the thing. You've got to do that if you want to get a post in the military to specialize. So I did do that. It was one of the worst things I ever did. I hated it. I really, really hated it. I think it's also because maybe my Harry Potter look, and I'm quite tall, and I really stood out. So they picked on me quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't great, but it was a means to an end.
Yeah. And then from there on, well, how did you then transfer your skills and get to specialization, or somewhere in between these areas you've actually started making contact with Howard and the Implant Academy?
Yeah, I can map it out for you quite nicely. When we were in fourth year, there was I don't know if this still exists, but it's like the Cape Dental Implant Society. I think Lochi was running it back then, and Howard came to give a lecture, right? And I mean, he was this guy, right? Now, I've got to be honest, because that's going to bleed into the latter part of my stories, which is really quite negative about varsity education, my experiences. And I was really at that stage quite like disillusioned with dental school and the teaching that I was getting or not getting. And I'll be honest, sure, to an extent, maybe my expectations were like, I thought that I was going to come back, we're going to get blazers like Harvard, there's nothing like that. Right? Let's be honest, there's nothing like that. But at least I just had a very high expectation of the type of dental education that I was going to get, right? And here I'm at this implants meeting. Don't know what an implant is, fourth year dentistry, and there's this guy lecturing, and I'm like, that's who I want to be like. And I just slowly started harassing him as well. Right? I started emailing and saying, hey, I want to come to your practice. I want to. Yeah, that was 2009. Yeah, 2009, 2010. That's about 10 years ago. And immediately, yeah, cool. Come anytime. We've got an open door policy. I actually didn't know what to do with that. Like, okay. And then slowly, I went to go see him at his practice and said, hey, I'm kind of interested in specializing. I'm thinking maxillofacial surgery, but I don't know anything about perio. What's perio about? And we, slowly started getting to know each other via his courses. So I started so let me face this to you. I finish dental school, I go to ComServe, and I immediately, I want to build my CV. I hear that you got to do these things called primaries. These are the exams you got to do to apply. Okay, cool, let's start doing primaries. And I want to start building my CV, because I'm pretty sure that if I apply, I'm going to go bottom of the pile, right? And I've got to have something that stands out on my CV that says, okay, well this guy's got a lot of stuff there. Let's look at his CV. So I started doing an MSc at Wits. I applied for a master's degree. I had a research project planned out. I had the whole protocol, exactly what I wanted to do, that I'd send it off to Wits. They accepted me. They actually applied first to the Groot Prof at UP at the time, but he said no. So this was my second choice. Off I go to Wits. At the same time, now I'm obviously having chats with Howard about what to do, how to get better in dentistry, how to just come to the academy courses. I started in the academy courses, and back then they had a diploma program, right? So all the courses were combined and endorsed by Frankfurt University, and it was a diploma of however long it took you to do all the courses and compile your cases. And at the same time, I was doing the Groot Prof's diploma course at UP, right, at the IPR Center of Excellence, right? So there was the third diploma on at the same time. So it was MSc, diploma with Howard, diploma at UP, and then there was this diploma that you could do through the College of Medicine. So if you compiled the logbook and you did, enough cases, and you had like hundreds of hours of experience, you could basically write an exam through the College of Medicine and earn a diploma in oral surgery. So I did that as well. So this was all in an attempt to try and, pump out my CV so that I could hopefully apply for a rich post one day. So that's in that process and in that time, post-ComServe 2012, 2013 that I met Howard, we really started going to all his courses, and I wanted to write some articles. He showed a case. There was someone who'd shot some implants through the nerve, and I was like, yeah, cool, let's write that up. And so he wrote up an article, and I said, hey, that's basically, I think the rest is history. It was just a slow, organic process of me just absolutely harassing this guy to learn everything from him and go to all his courses. And after going to his courses, coming back to his courses to help out at the courses. And that's kind of how it happened.
Sure. And then how did it really matter that you did do all this extra stuff, doing Howard's courses, doing this diploma and that diploma, to eventually actually stamp down the door to go and specialize?
The best way for me to answer that question for you is I'm going to give you a factual example, right? I wanted to, so there's a long backstory to how it happened, and that one of the profs at UP, now that I'm specializing, so I'm going to fast forward right through to 2018. I'm already a registrar. I'm going into my final year. One of the profs who's freaking gunning for me, right, contacts people in the military, and he's trying to disrupt my bursary, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm nailed here. So let me apply for a reg post through the Department of Health, and then I can exit the military and finish at least my last year through the Department of Health funded. True story. I interviewed against 4 other people as a final year registrar in Perio with a master's degree with, let's drop a Christoph's diploma from UP, but let's say diploma oral surgery, diploma from Frankfurt Academy, 3 sets of primaries. I think by then, 20 publications in journals, and I didn't get the post. They scored other candidates more than me. And I've seen their CVs, and it's impossible. So my message to people who want to specialize, and maybe this is not always the case, and I don't know how well regulated those selection boards are, but it is absolutely impossible that someone else could have scored higher than me. But they just did. Yeah, that happened. True story. So, yeah, looking back at it, and I give a lot, because obviously now, I mean, we mentor a lot of young people. We have a lot of people coming to the academy doing our courses, and a lot of youngsters ask, like, hey, listen, I want to specialize. Even not even specialize. I want to learn more. Like, I want to do more courses. Should I do this or do that? And for the most part, and I'm sorry if they are. Look, I've got friends who are lecturers at university, right? But in my opinion, for the most part, the diplomas at universities are not worth. They're not worth the paper they printed on. I'm sorry. Like, it's just, the diplomas that I did, the masters that I did, they look great. There's a couple of letters after your name, and maybe they mean something on a CV, I thought. But I got 1 point, tick, for all that stuff I did. Right? 1 tick. And so did everyone else. I don't know, maybe they did a weekend course somewhere. So did it help me in my CV? Not a chance. In fact, I'm pretty sure that Groot Prof at UP, when he saw my CV, was like, yo, hierdie mannetjie. Too big for his boots. In fact, I'm pretty sure that my CV counted against me. Yeah,
is it more like who you know than who you are?
Come on, hold it. I mean, yeah, Pope Catholic. Like, I'm thinking that I'm trying to look. I've studied at BITS, UWC, UP. I think I've had some insight into the politics at most dental schools, and I know some staff at SMU. Right? So I mean, I meet a lot of people and talk about a lot of stuff, and I've had some insight, And sure, I mean, some of it's only my opinion, okay, but I can back some of it up. The politics is a tricky thing. South African dental education, especially if you want to specialize, unless someone can prove it otherwise to me, I don't believe is merit-based. No. It's like I said, someone must come prove it otherwise to me, because I haven't seen it that way. I mean, that story I just told you, how can an almost qualified specialist score less than someone coming out of general dentistry and private practice who wants to get into it's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
There are lots of stories like that for you. But to answer your question, it's probably very different in many departments. And I'm really, because I've given this a lot of thought, because I don't want to unfairly lump everyone together, because there are some gem people in academia, but for the most part, it's swimming with sharks. I mean, it's a shark tank. It's purely politics. Yeah. So, what else do you want to know? I can tell you more about, like, the journey to get. I mean, that was my mantra.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I can give you my perspective was, I felt that, well, I probably also at some stage I also wanted to go and specialize. I mean, that's not why I'm not just doing fillings anymore. And you know what? at some stage you look at the university and you see the guys that were with me at varsity in undergrad that didn't do great, but they just stuck like they just stuck at the university. They never left. They were session doctors for how long, and then lo and behold, they'll get the post for the next orthodontic registrar or the whatever department. It doesn't really matter. And that's still not merit. I feel that's just hanging on and waiting for something.
For everything that I'm, because for everything that I say, if you give me a minute or two, I'm gonna have let me kind of counter that with a reasonable follow-up statement. To say that there is no merit would be somewhat unfair.
Yeah.
There are some people that I studied with who were good friends of mine, who I think are really good people and have a lot of great potential. Yeah, better than me, easily better than me, right? And to say that there's no merit, so let me temper that down. I think that there's a lot of other stuff involved, and where it should purely be merit, and there should also be other things involved like transformation, trying to give everyone a chance, trying to bring in more people of color, trying to bring in more women into dentistry. I call that. But there is so much more that goes on. And this is, I have these chats casually with dentists because you do undergrad dentistry, right? You are part of a big group of clients, university clients, essentially, right? And you're quite protected in that herd. And you're sheltered from the politics that is behind the scenes, right? The backstage. Because you don't really see it. They don't show it to you. But now if you come back as a postgrad student, you are not only bottom of the food chain, right? Because you're starting in the first year and you're working under these props and whatever, and you've got to perform. But you're also meant to operate as a staff member and lecture. You've got to put on a brave face, but you're also going to get nailed from behind, and you get you learn what the politics is really about. And general dentists who have left school and never come back with no clue what it's about. It's always been there. You don't get to see all that stuff that's going on. It was always there. And if I talk to people that specialized 10, 15 years ago, it was there as well. It's perpetuated, man. It's like history just repeating itself. So yeah, let me make a comment of you saying, you've got friends who waited their turn, basically stayed in university until they fell into a post. That does happen. I mean, the Iraqi guy that I told you is my best mate when we're studying together. The guy summa cum laude his degree. He's definitely a genius.
Yeah.
He's phenomenal. Right?
Yeah.
Summa cum laude his degree. Published with me, I think by the time that he got his post, beginning of this year, he'd had multiple publications, he'd done his primaries, he had everything on his CV, but he waited, what was it, 8-9 years to get a reg post?
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling. Look, I'm trying to tie everything together because I'm hoping that here and there, maybe one or two people will listen to this at some point and go, hey, cool, that resonates with me. I want to go and specialize after school. I want some advice. And I don't want it to be all doom and gloom. I just would like it to be somewhat honest and maybe share some of the thoughts and the things that I'm feeling and I think I've learned that I might have done differently. Right? Would I have gone and specialized and spent the last 10 years, the first several years trying to get in, right? Fighting to interview and get in, and then force your way in because I was never going to get in, right? Could have thought that UP was never, ever going to let me in. So I had to force basically my own funding to come into the department. In hindsight, was it worth it? I don't think so, man. I think we need to be honest. We need to be really honest about the quality of education and what the programs are actually about when you say specialist. Because there's really quite a lot of responsibility that comes with the title specialist. But you can't just float through 4 years and do a couple of cases and you're learning basically UNISA style with no consultants teaching you, with no head of clinic, with no one actually ever guiding you. You just doing a little bit here and there, write some exams, and you're done. That is not a specialist. And I think because let's be honest, in South Africa, specialists are very, very few. There's way more dentists. And could you reach an exceptionally high level of clinical excellence if you applied yourself and just did your own studies, your own courses, you challenged yourself, you read a lot, you practiced, you obsess over your craft that is dentistry? Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you have to be a specialist to do that work? No. Sure. Some special, like let's say maxillofacial surgery, but you can't teach yourself to do a tibial graft. Right? Dentist is going to go, okay, cool. I'm going to read up on how to transfer that bone from the leg to the face. I got this. Yeah. Okay, that's never going to happen. Fine. But really, all of the rest. So I'm kind of in a phase of older. Like you probably caught me at a good time, and I'd love to look back at this in 5 years' time because I've kind of got a foot in both sides, both these teams. Because I'm meant to have camaraderie now with my new specialist, fraternity. Right? We're special. Right? We're better. We know more. We're smarter. We're better trained. And then on the other hand, I identify a lot with general dentists because what if that was me? What if I never got into a reg program because Prof wouldn't let me? Right? Am I not allowed to excel? Am I not allowed to grow? Can I do more and step out of my comfort zone and provide more for patients and grow? Is it only for specialists? I don't think so. I don't think that's fair.
So let's say you were, what was it now? Let's say 8 years, and you had the opportunity just to just stay with Howard for argument's sake.
Yeah.
Would the level of your skills be higher than? Well, I mean, this is a hypothetical question, but I mean, what would you say? Would you be a better specialist, even though don't have the title, if you just stick with Howard for 8 years, than going to university? And
I'm gonna kind of avoid your question by answering it with something else.
I would hope you would avoid that question.
I see what you're trying to get at. I see what you're trying to get at, but it's going to be the same piece of advice that I give to lots and lots of other young dentists that contact me and want advice. Right? We mentor a lot of people, right, who come and say, hey, I want to learn more. I want to check this case. I want to do this, or whatever. They show us their treatment plans. They show us their patients. They want to learn more. They want to try more. I think. And it's very difficult to find. But if you can, top of your list should be mentoring under people. The way that a specialist training program should be designed, where you go in and are mentored by professors, people who are absolute experts in the field. That's how it's supposed to be. Okay? Who's to say that you can't do that outside of university?
Yeah.
So it's probably something that I learned early on, and that was to mentor under people. So when I was in ComServe, I wanted to do more, and I was probably a little bit naughty because I was I was going for it. I wanted to try new things. I wanted to push the envelope, and I was trying to spend time with specialists to learn from them. I humbled myself to try and contact them. Hello, so and so, and just very, first I just want to come visit. I want to just see what you do. Then the next time, come and maybe assist you. And then I built up rapport. So I spent some time with an orthodontist in Nelspruit. I spent some time with prosthodontist at One Mall. I would travel down from Hoedspruit to One Mall to come and do cases with him. I spent a lot of time with a maxillofacial surgeon in the next town. Right? I slowly built this rapport with them, trying to get under their wing to get a glimpse of what it is that they do. And that's really what being a registrar is like. You're supposed to be under profs. You're supposed to study everything about the theory of the disease that you're treating and what the treatment options are, blah, 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 blah. And then you know the books backwards. And then you slowly first do assist a few, watch a few, try an easy case, and you build your skill up, make a lot of mistakes. But I mean, kind of that's the program, right? And can you do that on your own outside of university? Absolutely. Can you miss misconstrue that for being a cowboy and going like, hey, cool, I saw a bone block case on YouTube, I'm going to just do that tomorrow. Absolutely not. Because that's not how, like, shadowing under someone, right, is designed. Like, if you really want to apprentice under someone, it's a long, arduous process, you know. So, does that answer your question? You know, could I have done the same thing with Howard? He's a phenomenal mentor, and I apprenticed under him because I think I followed that steps. I recognized what I assumed was supposed to happen in varsity. And
Yes.
I mean, I'll make this comment. I mean, I went to varsity, and the prof who was head of department was spent 100% of the time teaching general dentists on a course, you know, because it was a platform for like fanfare. Look how amazing I am, and spent no time with the registrars. Yeah. So you can be sorely woken up if you spend so many years trying to get into a specialist program and you get there and it's like, oh shit, now what now? I have to teach myself.
Yeah.
Because I have to now go to my mentors outside of varsity to get, you know, learning, insight, training, you know.
Yeah.
So my top of my advice would be find mentors.
Yeah, I think that's something that we've always been pushing quite hard on the podcast was, you know, for the young dentist is really try to make contact with someone that you think they've got nice work or that's something that you want to learn. And it's nice to hear something like that from a specialist.
You know, it's weird. I've got to tell you, like even that name, like it doesn't, you know, it hasn't really sunken in just yet. And like I said, there's a lot of responsibility that goes with it. You know, if you want to call yourself a specialist, I think you've got to start operating at that level. You know, you really got to put your money where your mouth is, type of thing. You know what I'm saying? So I don't just want to be that guy that now spent my 4 years in varsity, so you know, now I'm a specialist. I really think that without saying that, my work and my work ethic and the stuff that I do should say that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, I hope we're not digressing, because if I thought of why I wanted to do a podcast this time of night was to share with anyone who might have thought of studying a lot more, going to varsity and trying to get into. I mean, it's kind of like getting into NASA. I mean, can you imagine? The programs will take between 0 and maybe 2 people a year. I mean, the chances of getting in are so slim, man. And should your dreams be dashed because, I missed the boat, I didn't make the cut to go to varsity and be a specialist?
Yeah, I think
you don't think that's the case?
Yeah, I think you alluded to part of a question I wanted to ask you was. What would you change, or how would you like to see specialist education or tertiary education, maybe on a academic level, or and then also like a private dental university? I think Implant and Aesthetic Academy is almost there. Well, who knows?
Well, look, let's see if I can answer that, right? How can you do it better? How can you improve? You know, and what are maybe the future prospects?
Yes.
You said something about private postgrad teaching.
Yes.
At the moment, and let me say it again. Anyone who knows me would understand why I'm so disillusioned and so negative about the current university politics and level of training. Right? If anyone knows me and knows the stuff that I've been through, like, there's no way you could criticize me for having that opinion. Will it change? Absolutely, I'm sure it will. Right? But for the time being, do I believe that if you want to learn more, you have to go to a university? No, you don't have to. And of the postgrad qualifications that I have, the only one that, it really challenged me. And, you might say I'm biased now, but it's the reason why I work so much with the academy, because I believe in the ethos, in the type of teaching that is done there versus what is done at varsity. I mean, what did the MSc teach me? What did they teach me? To do a research project? I mean, the other diplomas, like really, does that mean that all diplomas at all universities? Yeah, I mean, look, I've heard some great things about very few, some of the diploma programs, fine, okay. But they should all be like that. If that's your only option to get postgrad training and learn more in South Africa, they should all be of like. You mentioned something about like private university. That would be the ideal. Because when you've got like a free market economy, when you've got competition, when you've got several colleges next to each other, right? A Damlin Varsity College, a Boston House that are competing with universities, now design schools. You've got creative. I mean, there's other options other than just UCT, Wits, you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And I think people will compete in their game. They will really like. Probably what has happened at universities is they've kind of gotten stagnant and they've gotten used to this kind of program. And for sure, you're fine. I don't care if you call me biased, but I think that the Implant Aesthetic Academy stands head and shoulders above any other postgrad training at the moment in South Africa because of the dedication, the absolute dedication. I mean, this course that we just ran recently, we spent weeks and weeks and weeks really like hammering out every detail of the curriculum that we wanted, taking every single tip and trick and information that we wanted and having it like really streamlined. And I can't say that I've ever seen that at a university. I just don't see that kind of dedication. Look, the dream would be to have a private college that can do more training, more diverse training, and then also issue people with credentials, because you'll be surprised. I mean, I was guilty of the same thing. I was just chasing like qualifications because I wanted to add them to my CV. And youngsters, I mean, obviously we've got our dental students now qualified to come back to us. That's all they want. They really like want that dip, something after their name. And what does it mean? I mean, the patients don't know what diploma you've done or what you haven't done. Really, what are those letters? Don't mean anything. The little letters after my name. What do they really mean? The proof is in your work. It's how good your work is, And that's what's so beautiful about dentistry is that it's absolutely demonstrative. If you're good, you can see it. No matter how many letters you got after your name. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, for sure.
I would love to see that happen. Is it feasible? Then you bring in a lot of other technical stuff, getting accredited by HPCSA, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't see it in the other like medical sciences, so there aren't any private colleges that are doing diplomas for medical doctors. Most of them are going to go back to varsities or to the College of Medicine because they've got 28 specialities and they've got diplomas and certificates and things that they can do. It hasn't really taken off for dentistry. So I think at the moment probably for postgrad education in South Africa, the academy is right up there. And hopefully it's just going to get better and better and better, and we'll grow and become more diverse. And accreditation would be something great because it just seems to be what dentists want. They want a credential. I don't believe that it's essential. I think the skill is way more essential than the credential.
I think education has changed so much just in the last 5 months, just in a matter of how things are being given out online. Now we still need to get to the practical parts, but things have changed quite a bit, and hopefully things will just keep on changing for the better.
I think obviously COVID, for all the negativity, it did force change. It forced everyone to adapt. We saw a flood. There was an absolute flood of webinars and online courses for a while. It's died down a lot now. But if you were anywhere on social media, it was almost chaotic, man.
It could almost
too much of it. It showed you what the potential was. Like, why do you have to get in a plane and fly to Germany to go to a conference and pay thousands of rands to sit in a massive auditorium, listen to lectures, go eat it to be, come back, listen to more lectures, and fly home? If you can do that over the internet. Because none of those conferences give you really a practical skill. Right? So, I mean, you obviously know that you know a lot about dental XP. So dental XP is a completely different thing, right? So I've been to some conferences in the last couple of years. I'll skip naming names, but there was almost in fact, there was no practical component. Like dental XP will have a conference dedicated to like hands-on events day after day after day after day. That's a whole different story, you know. But can you get a lot of the didactic teaching and webinars and study club? Why do you ever have to have a study club in person anymore? It's ludicrous, right?
Yeah.
Practical training. That's still a hiccup. You still got to have someone physically there over your shoulder, holding your hand, showing you how to do things. Maybe we'll get better at how to offer that remotely. But I think most of the didactic teaching, it forced the world to be receptive to it. And, maybe better for everyone. It just makes it a lot more accessible.
Yeah. I actually saw one course that they sent out kits with their course. So if you signed up to, I think it was an endo course or something, and they would send you all the materials and they ship it to you, and then you can then do some practical stuff over the internet with your whole class. And I thought that was quite thought out quite well.
So let me, I imagined when I was playing this through my head, maybe for the half hour before we spoke, I thought that I was going to mention like a hell of a lot more about like philosophy and politics and all this other stuff. But here and there, I'll take a little poke, a little jab. Apart from one prof, I had to drag other consultants to come and do surgeries with me. I mean, Howard even came from Cape Town. He flew up from Cape Town to come and do surgeries with me at Varsity, right? I almost never had profs lecturing to me, right? I never had someone step by step showing you like how to do something. Yeah, and this is what people don't understand. You think like if you're going to go to Varsity and become a registrar, there's like a red carpet rolled out for you, and like you're just going to get taught all this amazing stuff. No ways. So if there's a course where someone's like step by step explaining something to you, and then they're sending you a kit for them to sort of walk you through how to do the technique, that is way more than what I know to be any specialist program. And again, like I said, someone can prove me wrong.
Yeah. Well, I think we can start rolling it down a little bit.
Wrapping it up.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Okay.
I think there's one thing that I said was you come from very humble beginnings. Paying your own way through universities is actually coming out of a time of scarcity. And being with Howard, that has changed into abundance mindset in sharing your experiences and your expertise, and you do that freely. Does maybe a scarcity mindset now and again start creeping in your way of thinking?
It sounds so philosophical. I'm trying to think scarcity mindset versus the plentiful mindset.
Yes.
Elaborate a little bit so that I don't miss your question. I don't want to. I want to do it justice. See if I can. Yeah. What do you mean?
I think if I can put it to you that way, is that as I grew up, we never had like everything. Where I had to work every single university holiday. I had to work on a construction site to get some pocket money, and I never knew, will there be enough later on? Will there be enough later on? And that's something that still sometimes creeps up in nowadays as you do your daily things. But we've come to a stage where we are successful. We have a nice house. I have plenty of kids. Things are going well, but sometimes you get to a place where these old gremlins start creeping out of the closet, and you don't know how do you handle that.
I don't think I would ever be able to answer that question in its full justice the way that you want me to. But something does come to mind. Okay. Yeah, something does come to mind. I was chatting today. It's someone who is super dear to me, who's also a mentor, like an older brother. Bradley Bredekamp, also periodontist in Durban. He called me up. We were talking about some cases that he's walked into his practice, right? I mean, like horrible dentistry, and not by general practitioners, specialists, right? One by Max Back, one by perio. And he was just like, he's losing his mind. Now he's having a long thing on the phone about state of dentistry and the level of training for specialists. And look at this, and these guys don't even know the basics. And in our discussion, I remember saying, and this was today, saying to him that it seems to me that maybe even more so among specialists is that you've got this mindset where you want to hold on to like your little area, your little niche. You don't want other people to get better than you. You don't want even like general practitioners. They can't overtake you, right? Because you're a specialist, and you want to teach them, but just not teach them like a lot, right? So you always stay a little bit ahead. And that is, I'm not a massive philanthropist, let's be honest, but it just to me seems incredibly short-sighted.
Yeah.
I think if we are able to up everyone's game, it just naturally lifts the standard for everyone. And if it's here instead of here, right, then those that really want to compete and be uber specialists or, be the Insta influencers, whatever, the conference lecturers will raise their game even more, right? So I think by not trying to hold on to your little area, your little bit of knowledge, trying not to share too much, it's mine. Yeah, because I think, especially in perio, a lot of periodontists can tend to be that sort of, that's I don't know, maybe that's just my perception. I get that, people keeping to themselves. It's not so, maybe it'll change. But if that answers your question.
It definitely answers my question. Yeah, no, that's spot on.
Kind of like, I can't say that I'm not like that sometimes. Sure, absolutely, But I think I try and remind myself when I see someone doing great work even better than me, then it's just up to me to up my game. I got to get even better, And if I can share a lot of what I know with other younger dentists coming after me, that's just better for everyone. Okay.
That's like
There's my beauty pageant answer. I want to save the world and end hunger.
So, let's talk about surfing. You said you surfed quite a bit at school. How's things going at the moment? You're back in Cape Town.
Oh man, look, I put up that picture there as a background. Usually it's got the classroom, the Implant Anesthetic Academy, but I just thought maybe if I said anything way too controversial tonight, which I really didn't, I'd rather have a picture of Cape Town. And then maybe people won't know that I'm in Pretoria. But obviously I had to move up here to come and study, right? And I was meant to be back home, like January already. But, then someone in China had a bat kebab, so slowed things down for me. Surfing. And it's interesting how life can just, really take you on a roller coaster. And, I go from when I grew up in Cape Town and I was in high school, man, we were absolutely obsessed. We lived on the beach from early in the morning until early evening. And that was like my whole life. That's all I lived for. And then immediately after high school and starting to trying to work to get overseas, I mean, South Korea's got no waves, like nothing. And when I came back to study, I kind of got back into it when I was in dental school, a little bit, but not really. And I don't really know why, because I still feel like it's that phase of my life that I'm meant to get to. I'm meant to move back to the oceans, the beach, have my work and my practice, and get back into surfing. But if I look at it now, I mean, I've lived away from Cape Town for nearly 10 years. That's crazy. The last time I surfed was on a holiday down to visit Mick in Jeffreys Bay. when he was still living in J-Bay.
Yeah.
He had a mini mill, borrowed his mini mill. We went out, and that was a good couple of years ago. So, yeah, I went from that to this Harry Potter lookalike area. One day I'll get back into it.
Yeah, man. I also surfed. Well, I come from Swellendam, so we just went out weekends to Still Bay and so on, and then and we surfed quite a bit at varsity, and then for also about 10 years we didn't do anything, and we only started surfing last year again. And that's such a lekker thing to just get back into it.
When I was visiting Mick, and we went out on the mini mill. I hadn't been on a surfboard in so long that the pressure just from lying on the board, like I had like achy ribs, which was something that I hadn't experienced in ages. And I'm old now, so I do like old man surfing. I kind of just I imagine if I ever got back into it, maybe I'd get a stand-up paddleboard, and I would just I'd be that old dude, just stand-up paddling my way into small little gears and doing my thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. So you say,
I see your pictures.
Yeah, no, I bodyboard, so I'm already on a piece of foam.
Oh, there we go. It's easier.
Yeah.
Definitely easier.
Yeah.
I was. Here's a short little story. We when we were in high school, we as a group of like 10 mates, grabbed our surfboards and bodyboards and jumped on a bus and took a holiday out to Jeffreys Bay. Back when, man, there was nothing there. It was just, I think it was one restaurant and one pub, La Grotto. The La Grotto was the only restaurant in town. I think that was 1995.
Yeah.
And now, that town's exploded. There's like, 20 dentists? So there's certainly no space for me. Come and visit you and Emmet.
But tell me, but you say you're not in Cape Town yet. When are you? What's your plans?
No. Yeah, look, the plan was to move. It's complicated. So let me try and give you the medium version because the short version won't make sense. I was supposed to write my finals in October last year, and as you know, varsity politics, a lot of chess. Here come the Sharks. And it got all messed up, and so I didn't get to write, and I had to go and write by policy the College of Medicine exams, and by then I'd missed them, so I had to write them in the next cycle, which was going to be February, March, and then I wrote them, and then again, COVID happened, so then everything's locked down, people are at home, I'm in the middle of finals, and luckily things went ahead, and eventually they had our oral exams. And so in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, well, I'm supposed to be moving back to Cape Town already, finish my exams. So, it's a complicated. I finished the exams. I've got one more really big work deadline to finish in the next month, and then I've seriously got to migrate back to where I came from.
Yeah. Well, we hope that works out as planned. Not that anything has worked out this year.
Yeah, look, it's certainly slowed everything down, but I can't look. It's not fair of me to. I can't complain. Had I moved down to Cape Town, I've got some mates who opened a practice in Cape Town. They just finished, right, specializing, and they dropped a lot of money on a practice. COVID happens. They're new specialists. It's kind of tough,
Yeah.
And for sure, I saw my career, hopefully, progressing with Howard, with the academy, doing a lot of things that we wanted to do together. But at the same time, I am under contract with the military, right? So I've got to work for the military or make some decisions about my career.
Okay.
That's a good thing to do, work for them. And so there's like a lot of stuff that I need to kind of weigh up. And prior to COVID, it would have been the perfect scenario. I could have done, I think, some phenomenal work. The military is a freaking gold mine for research. It's unbelievable. It's such an untapped resource for doing like a lot of type of stuff that I want to do. And at the same time, they were going to move me down to 2 Mil, which is a big hospital in Wynberg in Cape Town.
Yes.
It was a perfect plan. Like everything was going to work out the way I wanted. And then, boom, Corona. So let's see how it plays out. It's just going to be a bit slower.
Yeah.
But that's the story.
I mean, we haven't even touched on dentistry, on practical stuff at all. What is your? I mean, you did a lot of things on Socket Shield. You now and again have some things on guided surgery and so on. But what is your niche in periodontology? If you need to have a niche or something that you really enjoy.
Yeah, it's. I won't name names, and then I'm going to echo what they said. When I met the registrars who were studying when I was an undergrad, 2009, 2010, they all told me they studied perio purely because of implantology, right? And coming into the perio program, I didn't think that oral medicine, for example, was my forte. And I thought that classic periodontology, periodontics, and implant dentistry was my forte. But, I had a phenomenal teacher who came back to UP, and, she spent a lot of time with me, and I'd like to think grown in oral medicine as well.
Okay.
So I'd really like to think that I'm quite well-rounded, because there's no technically in South Africa you're a specialist in periodontics and oral medicine, right? It's kind of if you're really honest, probably for the most part, most periodontists in South Africa practice less oral medicine than they do implant dentistry and classic periodontics, right? I think it's a fact. It's a fair statement. But do I have a niche? No. I think that I'm trying to be well-rounded. If you look at someone like, and I hate to say it, there's you would know, Miltiadis Mistias, the guy who is from Greece. His working group came out with something what they call to be similar to Socket Shield, the root membrane. And I've only ever seen him lecture on root membrane, version of the Socket Shield, if you will. And I don't think that partial extraction therapy is my only area of interest.
Yeah.
I have a lot of stuff I'm interested in, a ton of stuff. So for now, I think that as a young graduate, I'd like to think well-rounded, and I certainly don't only want to be known for Socket Shield.
Yeah.
It's like a long answer evading your question. It feels like.
No, I really don't think so.
Yeah.
Let's make one clinical topic. Let's say you're a young clinical guy. You want to do some implants. What would you tell someone? Do you need to know how to place a implant freehand or only guided?
My answer is a little bit biased here, and the friends that I have who are rich in the industry would know my cases, right? I've had some terrible, absolutely devastating mishaps with so-called guided surgery, fully guided. Right? No, I don't know. I haven't seen it work brilliantly in my hands yet. I don't think we're there just yet. I don't think that the technology is there yet. That's my opinion. Maybe and I've got to be honest. I've got a lifetime of experience ahead of me. I'm nowhere near, where someone who's looking back on 10, 15 years of experience, really hashing these things out, could give you a better answer. But for the little bit that I've done, this whole crazy, sexy, cool digital dentistry, fully guided. It's a lot of marketing, and don't get me wrong. Sure, there's a lot of product. There's a lot that the overall umbrella instrumentation that function in digital dentistry that have revolutionized what we do. Don't get me wrong, fine. But are there foolproof treatment options like fully guided surgery that work well every time? I haven't seen that yet. And like I said, I've really applied myself. I mean, things that I've planned out like to a T. Instead of going a few millimeters or maybe a few microns off, it went like a centimeter off, inexplicably so. Yeah, you've got to have the raw skill, I think, or the experience. Yeah, raw skill and experience.
I always say, implant can take you 5 minutes, or it can probably take you the whole day. But it's just a matter of having that plan B, plan C, and I think that's people sometimes rely so much on doing something guided that they forget that they need to have plan B, plan C, if things do go wrong, that you can just take off the guide and know what you need to do then.
Yeah, if we're talking, purely, dentistry now, and people who know what we're talking about and have dabbled in, placing implants and working with guides and digital plan guides and so forth, you absolutely have to go the long haul of a lot of time getting the experience with conventional implant placement so that you can manage those complications. And I mean, I'm guilty of the same thing. Placing a guide, placing the fixation pins, going because you think this thing is perfect, it's planned, and it's nowhere. I mean, there was a specific case where I thought it was. I mean, I planned it like to the T. Instead of drilling, it was anterior mandible, and I wasn't even in bone. I was in the floor of the mouth, man. And I mean, that is that's crazy. So, if that's a warning, and I don't want to be that guy who's kind of like speaking doom and gloom to people who want to get into this. It's not all as amazing, I think, as a lot of people in industry make it out to be. We're not there yet.
Is there anything that you still want to share with the two listeners that listen to this podcast?
Who, me and you? Look, it's Mick said to me, "Hey, don't go on Voldu's thing and talk about riding around your motorbike or surfing." He said, "Talk about dentistry. We want to hear about dentistry," which we haven't really done. But that wasn't like my goal. I thought that I had something to share that speaks to either people who are craving training themselves up and skilling themselves up a bit more, right? And then also those people like you, like my other friends who are general dentists, who are way better dentists than I'll ever be, but they're not specialists, right? To kind of give you a peek behind the curtain that it's not. And I'm hoping, for as much as I'm criticizing, and I'm quoting again one of my senior consultants in Perio, right? So he gave me a hard time about this recently to say that people are always criticizing the system, meaning dental academia, but they don't want to help. And I'm hoping that I can maybe get over my issues with varsities and maybe be a positive part of that change. But do you have to go back to universities and get into a registrar program to be better at what you're doing? No. I think you can apply the same principles, and I've said this maybe 10 times now. So I really want to drive that point home. I think that's my message. I don't think the long haul that I went through is necessary. I don't think that it's not for everyone, and really it can't be. It's not possible. It's not practical. So maybe that's a message for some of the people watching this.
I don't want to carry on too much about this, but I think that it sometimes also feels like are we maybe just seeing the slow death of specialist dentistry? I'm not talking. I'm talking in a academic realm. Whereas, I mean, we have these faculties, we have places where people can specialize, but there's so few people that specialize. It takes so much time to get someone graduated as a specialist. And we actually need more specialists to do the work. And now the general dentists are doing the work. I think that is because of a lack of specialists, not because the general dentist just wants to do the work.
There's so much to say on that. Eh? We could literally have a part B just on that topic. So how do I keep this quite simple? For me, it's not really so much an issue of who does the work. Right? There's more than enough patients. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
The ratio of patients that we have to dentists is ridiculous. There really should be, okay, sure, there's financial barriers, blah blah blah, but there really should be plenty of work for everyone. Right? The process should be quite organic. Right? Regardless of who you are, specialist or not, that you would progress and do your thing, and I would be. It's kind of sad to, if you want to admit and say, for the most part, because you can't. I mean, that would be a major stereotype to say specialist dentistry is dead, as we know. It probably has in many places, departments, disciplines been dead for a while already. You just didn't know it. It was, hamster's dead, but that wheel is just turning. It would be great. I said this to some of the guys that I studied with who are in other disciplines. It would be amazing if we could have a forum where we sat down and we were really honest about what did we get out of our specialist programs. What did we really get taught? Do we really feel ready for our specialist level practice, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? And then really start to be honest about all the shortfalls. And once they're exposed, start to do something about it, because there's always going to, come on, it's just, dentistry is just such a massive, massive, massive discipline that it's really quite difficult to be a master of everything. That's why they've got specialization. It would be truly impossible, I think, for someone, the very few exceptional people to now be fully knowledgeable of oral medicine and practice as oral medicine specialists, and thorough orthodontics and occlusion, prosthodontic rehabs, and have all the surgical acumen. It takes you. If I can get good enough at the end of my career to the level that I set for myself, just in what I do, that would be an achievement. So there absolutely is a place for the specializations. But I would be lying if I didn't say that I believe that there's some major, major, major issues, and there's some huge misconceptions with what's actually going on with the training. It's a big stereotype, and I have to qualify that with saying that there are some absolute gem people, brilliant people in varsity, but there are very few. I've met 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 absolutely amazing people, but the majority, can I say it again? Hamster's dead, but that wheel is just turning. It's got nothing to do with education. It's just about employment opportunity and politics and that power struggles and all the other shit, which has got nothing to do with education. And that has to change. That really has to change. And I'm hoping that I'm not going to get over it, and I'll continue to be quite vocal about it. Maybe these things will get known, and they should change. I can't speak for everyone. It's a huge stereotype. I've peeked behind the curtains of some departments outside of even the one that I trained in, and the grass not green, it's fraught. There's some problems there.
Well, okay. I think it's refreshing to have someone that is as honest about this, that like you are, and also someone, a specialist that's humble enough to actually give us your take on it. Not just, that's the other thing with if we look at specialists, is you almost see sometimes more the ego than the guy itself. And thank you for being so grounded.
Cool, man. Appreciate it. I try. It's difficult, but
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Jonathan.
Cool.
I really appreciate
fun.
it. Yeah.